Are you ready? Are you ready to hear about a man who took 510 pages to tell a story about a really annoying guy? Are you ready for that? A man who refuses to take responsibility and just whines and complains about his life instead of trying to change it? Are you ready for that? That's right, today we're reviewing Jude the Obscure. And if you've never heard of Jude the Obscure, that's okay, because I hadn't heard of it before I read it either. I just found it in the classics section of Chapters, which is a Canadian bookstore chain. And I decided to read it, and I don't know why, because it wasn't a very good choice. Let's get started. So Jude here is a poor orphan who wants to go to university. I mean, what kind of orphan isn't poor? But anyways, he's an orphan. He wants to go to university, and he can't because he's raised by a working class woman, his aunt actually, and he ends up being a stonemason. And he's not happy about being a stonemason. But instead of trying to change his circumstances, or even just accept his circumstances, he complains. He complains and he whines that he can't go to university, so he's unhappy. Jude then falls in love with Arabella, a woman in his village. The two get married, but it's a really nasty, unfortunate marriage because Arabella is really bossy and Jude doesn't stand up to her, so Arabella kind of walks all over him and he's really unhappy. So the two separate, and Jude finally tries to get into university, but it proves to be hella difficult. Jude then meets his cousin Sue, and he's attracted to her immediately. But Sue is engaged. Once she gets married, Sue is actually very unhappy with her husband and leaves him to live with Jude. At this point, Jude and Sue both get divorces, but they don't get married to each other. They just live together. Jude finds out that he has a son from Arabella from their marriage, and so he takes in his son with Sue, and Sue and Jude have 2 kids of their own, out of wedlock. They move into another town, but they fear that everyone's kind of looking at them, and everyone knows that they're not married, even though nobody knows this. They're just paranoid. So Jude stays in a separate room than Sue and the children, in their lodging that they found. So one day, Sue goes to have breakfast with Jude in Jude's room, and when they get back, they find out that the oldest child has hanged himself along with the other 2 kids because he felt that they were too many. He felt that they were too big of a burden on Jude and Sue. So, it's hugely tragic. So the whole time of the time with Jude, Sue has been thinking that God has been punishing them for leaving their spouses. And this incident of the children dying just confirms it in her eyes. So she goes back to her husband. So Jude then goes back to Arabella. And then he gets sick and dies, and he's only 40. He just kind of dies. And that's the end of the story. Kind of sucks, doesn't it? So throughout the story, Jude complains about all this shit happening to him, but yet he doesn't do anything to try to fix it. He doesn't do anything to help himself. He just freaks out and complains and gets depressed. Jude is impossible to root for, which is not what you want in a protagonist. He just annoys the hell out of the reader. So the book is called Jude the Obscure. But I don't know if I agree that Jude is obscure. The book is obscure. Nobody's really heard of Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy before. But, I don't know if Jude is obscure himself, but he is annoying. So after reading this book, I started to associate that Beatles song, Hey Jude, with this book, because I don't know any other Judes. And, probably not a good idea, because for a while, that's all I could think about when I heard that song. But it's worn off now, so that's good. In conclusion, this book is not very good because Jude refuses to grow a pair and actually do something for himself for once. He is a victim of his circumstances, and he remains a victim until the day he dies. So I just can't recommend this book. I just can't. Thanks for watching!